Knicks Some Noise, it's your man, Why Me. Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome back to another episode. This is Game 2. This is a Game 2 recap. Listen, man, the game was rough. We took the L, 100-94. It seemed like deja vu. It seemed like we was about to make another comeback, another late one, too, in the fourth quarter. But, you know, we came up short. And, yo, let this marinate for a second. The Pistons just snapped a 6,174-day playoff win drought. This is the longest streak in NBA postseason history on account of the Knicks, man. History was made once again. They love making history in the Garden, but you know what it is, man. We gotta eradicate that thing out of our house, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's break it down, man. What went wrong? What clicked? How the Knicks gotta regroup heading into Game 3, honestly. Listen, man, I still believe that we're going to win. We're going to win in dramatic fashion. We're going to win in at least 6 games. But at the same time, we can't keep digging ourselves out of double-digit holes. 10-plus points, 8 points going into the fourth quarter. That's not the strategy. That's like trying to survive. You can't depend on Jalen Brunson all the time. Jalen Brunson has to be able to depend on his teammates as well. We need smarter possessions, tighter rotations, and somebody else to step up in the clutch. Game 3 is more than just going to be a road trip game. We have to make a statement. We got to prove that we belong. We got to prove that we can hang with this team physically. We got to prove that we can grind with this team physically. Listen, man, Cade. That boy is good. He's a 2-point geezer in the making. He hit his 3-pointer, and then he goes 33 points, 11 for 21 from the field on us with 12 rebounds. And you know that agitator, right? Dennis Schroeder, 20 points, a clutch 3, 55 seconds left in the game. Tobias locked in a double-double, 15 points, 13 rebounds. Jalen Duren, 12 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks. And for Brunson, 37 and 14. That's 14 points in the fourth quarter, that is. No baskets for Towns in the second half. Mikhail Bridges contributed. He definitely had a good game, and it was solid, but couldn't cash in on that late Game 3 that we really needed. But listen, man, once again, 100-94. We got to make some tight adjustments, some minor adjustments. I don't think it's the rotation. We went 9. We need some points off the bench from all of our bench players that come into the game. Mitchell Robinson has to be made a lob threat, ladies and gentlemen. We need Mitch to get himself situated in the paint so he can catch lobs. And the team, Payne, Jalen Brunson in particular, Towns, we have to be able to shovel that ball off to Mitch, whether it's a dump down pass or get my man some easy touches. He's a beast on the glass. So shout out to Mitchell Robinson, just continuing to beast on the boards, getting us those offensive rebounds, possessions that we need to, like, you know, shore up our second attempt baskets. Cade Cunningham had 33 and Schroeder had 20. So at the end of the day, nobody else cracked 20 on the team. Malik Beasley was off. Hardaway Jr. was off. Tobias locked in a double-double. But at the same time, every Knick player that started the game had double figures. But it didn't make a difference. It didn't matter. We only got 8 points off the bench from Deuce. We got nothing from Shamet, nothing from Payne, and nothing from Mitchell Robinson, unfortunately. So at this point, look, we got to go into Game 3 ready to make a statement, ready to lock them down defensively. And we also got to know that we can't play at a deficit all the time. The problem is having to come back from double-digit deficits at the end of the third quarter, at the start of the fourth quarter, and toward the end of the game. I mean, we can make it always a dramatic game, a dramatic closing, but we have to be in the driver's seat. We can't be the ones that are coming back from 10 points all the time. And we damn sure can't start with those deficits to start the game. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. We coming out looking bad, and we finishing the game looking bad. Listen, man, let me know your thoughts in the comments on obviously how we did. There's a lot of blame to go around. You see Mike Francesa ripping into Tom Thibodeau, ripping into Jalen Brunson. Honestly, I said in my last video, and I've said in previous videos, Jalen Brunson must facilitate. He has to be able to come off the ball and distribute the rock evenly. But at the same time, if he's the only one that's being aggressive and you don't have guys demanding the ball from him when it's necessary, or when they feel like they have a rhythm, or when they feel like they have a viable shot or are able to contribute to the offense, guess what's going to happen? He's going to continue to pound the rock and try to get to his spot. There should have been, equal foul calls for Cade Cunningham as it was for Jalen Brunson. Cade Cunningham was able to control the first half of the game, and then Jalen Brunson controlled the second half of the game. I don't necessarily like that foul calling strategy from the referees, but it's not something that you can strictly or specifically blame on the officiating. But yes, it was not an evenly called game from first to second half. It's not one of those things where you should only call fouls for one of the superstars in the first half and then call fouls for the other superstar in the second half. That doesn't really mesh well or make for an equal game all the way through. With that said, the officiating was, pretty lopsided, pretty subpar. But at the end of the day, this is always going to be a physical series. This is not something that you can hang on the referees each game in and game out. It's up to the players and it's up to the coaches to develop the strategy on the sideline and on the court that is going to win games for their team. The Detroit Pistons, you got to give it to them, man. They played physical throughout. They weren't necessarily worried about the fouls that were going to be called on them because they control the game from a physical standpoint. We have to be able to match that intensity. Want to know why Payne didn't actually get himself in a rhythm? Because he came in the game fumbling the basketball. Whether it was his fault or not, he didn't really get himself into a shooting rhythm. He got himself into a turnover rhythm, as well as Shamet, throwing the ball away in critical times when we're down 6, 8 points. That's not going to get you the confidence that you need to actually shoot the ball the next time you catch it. So the first thing that you should not do when you get the ball is bobble it or turn it over. If you're not a starter, your margin for error is very low. Yeah, you want to know why Josh Hart stayed in the game with turnovers? Because he's a starter. OG Anunoby the same. We're driving the basketball, getting deep, not throwing the ball up on the glass, as opposed to what we're doing is kicking it out to the three. Being too specifically wanting great and high percentage shots. If you drive the basketball, you should be looking at the backboard. You should be looking at the basket. And then rebounders should be crashing the lane. So if Josh is driving, we should have guys crashing the lane, rebounding. Maybe one guy we're worried about leaking out, but let's say that guy would be Jalen Brunson because he could also take a charge on the other end. I mean, those are some strategies that we can definitely implement for game 3. Going into Detroit, we won't have home court advantage. That was taken away from us with the loss in game 2. And then on top of that, we're probably going to be outmatched in terms of from a fan perspective, where the Detroit Pistons kind of made it damn near legal for New York Knicks fans that don't have a Michigan or Indiana Midwest type of zip code to buy tickets for the game. So, what we're looking at right now is going to be definitely some lopsided play. We have to come in there. We have to make a statement. We have to drive the basketball. We have to be looking to score every time. The kickouts from 6 feet under the basket to 23 feet away from the basket are always going to result in turnovers and, broken down plays. I don't think that that's how we should be distributing the basketball. We should be able to establish a passing lane with the guys that we intend to throw the basketball to. And in particular, Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, who do drive the ball and don't always look to score, you have to be able to look to score. That's at the end of the day. Or if you have Mitchell Robinson or Towns in there, we should be able to establish some type of lob threat with our big men. Let me address the elephant in the room, Karl Anthony Towns. You don't shoot the ball in the second half. Block the noise out, because at the end, we need you to be aggressive. Jalen Brunson is going to be aggressive if no one else wants to be aggressive. That's just how it is. And then 9 times out of 10, he may be aggressive even if you want to be aggressive. So with that being said, we need to be able to take the ball out of Brunson's hands when needed. There was a lot of situations where rebounds were caught. Instead of bringing the ball up over half court, we're waiting to give the ball to Jalen Brunson for him to bring it up, for him to work twice as hard to bring the ball up. For instance, if Josh Hart gets the rebound, you shouldn't be waiting to hand the ball off to Brunson in the backcourt. He's being guarded by Thompson. He's being guarded by Schroeder. And these are agitative guards that is making JB work too hard to get to his spots on the court. Yeah, sometimes it worked out. Yeah, sometimes he got to the basket. But other times, we were dead in the water because you got the man playing 25 feet away from the basket all the time. Same for Towns. If you're catching the ball 25 feet away from the basket and trying to drive on a guy like Tobias Harris, you're trying to drive on guys that are shorter than you, you're not going to actually get that leverage. Towns plays too straight up. So you're not going to see him drive pulls with his head down. You're not going to see him drive the basketball at a lower center of gravity. He's always driving the basketball standing straight up. So we need to establish a quicker type of offense for him. He's trying to use leverage, whereas he doesn't have any. So these are the things that we need to work on going into game 3. The rotation, again, we got 9 players on the court. Shamet and Cameron Payne, unfortunately, came into the game turning the ball over. So going down the stretch, you're already tight. I'm not going to trust you if I'm the coach. I'm only going to trust guys who I've been, trusting in and guys that I've gone with in critical times. Like, Cam Payne is a streaky shooter. Sure, he could have got us a couple of baskets this game on account that he virtually won us game 1. Sure. But is that always the situation that you're going to hang your hat on as a coach and a player? As a coach in the playoffs, are you going to depend on your 8th, 7th, 8th guy in the rotation to win you games every night? It's not sustainable. That's not something that you can expect for Tom Thibodeau to do, especially if every time we lose a game, you're calling for this man's job. And every time we win a game in dramatic fashion, you're calling for this man's job. What do you expect the rotations to be at this point? Yeah, we can go 10 guys, 11 guys, but that's not always the case. That's not always something you expect to happen. Bickerstaff went 9 guys, and he got 20 points. He got 20 points from his backup point guard. 20 points from his backup point guard and 33 points from his starting point guard. So where we're lacking is not getting enough bench production. Dennis Schroeder outscored Deuce McBride by 12 points. So if you want to compare, he outscored Deuce McBride by 12 points, and Paul Reed came in with 6 points. Guess how many points that we lost by? 6 points. So essentially or effectively, if you neutralize a player like Paul Reed, hold him to 0 points, the score is tied. You take 2 to 4 points away from Schroeder, we win by 4. So we can't have players, again, remember I said in a previous video, if you got guys that are coming in, they average 2 points and they hit 6, they're overachieving. So you have 4-point surplus that you have to account for. Dennis Schroeder, he probably averages 8 points. He's scoring 20. That's bad defense on a player like that who is not a great shooter. He's a facilitator, he's an agitator, and a flopper. Now you let a person like that who could control the game by flopping and on defense outscore you on offense. Recipe for disaster. We have to lock up on a guy like Schroeder. There's no reason for him to be able to score 20 points. There's no reason for him to score 20 points in a playoff game versus our team. You leave guys like him open, guess what's going to happen? Jalen Brunson, you got to tighten up on defense. I understand you want to get your baskets, but you got to come off the ball. That's definitely where some of the blame goes. However, I wouldn't blame an aggressive player over a non-aggressive player. So with that, rally the troops. You want the ball? Come get the ball. Let's talk in the timeout. What we doing? When we go back on the court, who's looking to be open? Who has a rhythm? Who feels like their mechanics are going to get a shot down? Those are all the things that we need to focus on when it comes to beating this team in game 3. Being down double-digit points in the first 2 games on our home court is not acceptable. To a team like this, we should be able to control the pace of the game, number one. We should be able to execute in the half court, and we shouldn't be having situations where we're being forced into bad shots due to a lack of aggressiveness on offense. The ball should be able to move enough as to where guys are converging to the basketball and weaving 2 spots on the court. Now, if you got guys like this, Thompson, Schroeder, Cunningham, they play passing lanes very well. So then that means that you as a off-ball player have to migrate to the basketball and then create a cross situation where now guys are interchanging spots. So the spot that I just came from is the spot that you're going off the basketball. And then I assume your spot with the ball. So those are just, tidbits and negotiations that we can make on the court within the flow of the game. Guys are standing around watching Brunson cook, and oftentimes is creating too many one-on-one situations for our team where our most capable scorer is also working the hardest, the shortest player on the team, and we're like just forcing him into bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. Now, you have a guy like Schroeder, you have a guy like Cade. Those 2 concerted efforts landed the Detroit Pistons 55 points in the game. Now, I do want to highlight the play of Mikhail Bridges. A lot of people are, short on him, but I think he kept us steadily in the game, whereas another player, such as Karl-Anthony Towns, who finished with 10 points, should have been able to step up. I mean, if you don't attempt any if you don't attempt any shots in the second half of the game, you've essentially phased yourself out of the game. How could you not call for the basketball in 2 quarters of play? You played the whole 4th quarter. How could you not call for the basketball? You got to be able to demand the basketball. It is no excuse to be capable and not demand the basketball. You got to demand the basketball. So with that said, listen, we got a lot of work to do in game 3. The coach has a lot of work to do, and the players have a lot of work to do. We have to take a look in the mirror and understand where our bread and butter is. And then on the flip side of that, we also have to understand where our second and third options are. Mikhail Bridges is doing his very best second option impression. Considering Towns is not up to snuff when it comes to the level of aggression. I mean, if you get bumped, then you get bumped, and I understand that the fouls are not being called for you. You still have to continue to influence and assert your dominance, so to speak, and enforce your will, because that's the only way that the shots are going to go in. But at the end of the day, let me tell you something about that boy, Cade Cunningham. Yes, essentially in his first playoff game, he didn't meet the challenge. He didn't rise to the occasion. But the second playoff game, shaking the rust off, understanding the worst that can happen is you go up 8 and, you get ran out the gym in the 4th quarter. You come back in the second game, free of all the jitters and everything like that. And essentially, he controlled the game from start to finish. His game was pure. His mid-range shots were falling. He got to every spot. He got to every turnaround basket, posting up, crossovers, breaking down the double team at the top of the key, getting to the lane, transition baskets, like throwing the ball behind his back, dunking in transition, pointing at the legends row, and everything like that without even pretty much saying a word. He's like a quiet assassin. He doesn't have to talk. His game does all the talking for him. He's an excellent young basketball player, definitely leading this young, hungry team with something to prove in this playoffs. I mean, you don't win a playoff game in over 6,000 days. You know, that's like the longest streak ever in NBA history. And you do it in Madison Square Garden, and you win the game pretty much end to end. No real lead changes. You probably tied the game one time. Listen, man, that's something to be, you know, commended in. You pat yourself on the back as a young player coming up in this league. Listen, aside from all that, we got a job to do in game 3. Fellas, don't drop this one. We've already lost home court advantage, so now we need to go into Detroit and put our stamp on their home court. We need to beat them by at least 12 points and the end. Learn how to play from ahead and not learn how to play from behind. Guys got to go to the basket hard and effectively and not be looking to kick the ball out, because what that does is it shows your lack of aggression. And all it does is tell referees that you're not really wanting to shoot the ball. You're looking to pass the ball. You're looking to get open shots versus being looking to pass the ball. We have no real mid-range assassin besides Mikhail Bridges, but at the same time, he's not as physical a player as we would like him to be. But he's been able to hit his face-up shots. He's pretty decent in transition and three-pointer and seemingly holding his own on defense. We definitely need a player like that to get us over the hump. But you can't just leave it all on one player. You can't leave it all on one person. Towns has to become aggressive, and they're putting shorter players on him, players that don't weigh as much. I mean, go to work on them. Jalen Duren might be your toughest matchup. Go to work on him. Paul Reed played very good defense on Towns. He blocked his three-point attempt. And, I mean, guys like that who come off the bench, who may or may not get played because they're like the third-string big man. Isaiah Stewart goes down. This guy comes in, scores the 6 points that basically makes the difference between his team winning and losing. That's the type of play that gives a guy like that extreme confidence. And, you know, he's played in situations with the Philadelphia 76ers previously. So, you know, he's not unfamiliar to playoff basketball. Basically played against us last year, him and Payne. So we need to definitely step it up, step up the game, step up the process, step up the passing, step up the decision-making on offense, and step up the communication on defense, or I ain't even going to say it. Knicks in 6, man. It's your man, Why Me. I talk long enough. What I want to definitely let everybody know from now on is going to be new content, new blood, new Knicks media, because really we don't get the credit that we deserve. Everybody thinks that we're a letdown team, but all these other teams, the Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, they get to make all the mistakes in the world. They get to have Hall of Fame basketball players, you know, and they get to make all the mistakes in the world. They get to be trash for I don't know how long, but as soon as the Knicks try to get good, we're a letdown team. We've been good for 5 years. We've won our most games that we've won in I don't know how long this season that just passed, exceeding expectations from last season. The trend is only going up. The team is locked in essentially for the next 3 to 4 seasons. I mean, we just have to become a more cohesive unit. The bench has to find a way to just, you know, be dynamic. And Jalen Brunson has to become more of a facilitator on the offensive end. 27 shots in the first game, 27 shots this game. Essentially, you go 12 or 27 in both games, and you play in over 40 minutes. 27 shots per game is not something that we're gonna win with. I mean, Cade took 21 shots and got us 33 points. Jalen Brunson took 27 shots and got us 37 points. So you see where the difference is. 6 less shots, you scoring 4 less points, but 6 less shots nonetheless, and your team wins by 6. So that means the ball is moving around. Something to think about. Knicks Some Noise, it's your man, Why Me. This is my Game 2 recap. You know, I just wanted to go off for a minute. Let everybody know that, listen, this ain't over by no stretch of the imagination. We can basically beat the team in one quarter But that's not how we want to play. We want to play first, second, third, and fourth quarter basketball. We don't need to essentially try to win the game in 4 minutes. That's not always going to work. The referees are not going to allow us to, stamp our foot on a game in 4 minutes. We have to play 48 minutes of basketball. And our starters, got to be more communicative and demand the basketball from each other. We need more dominance from OG Anunoby back on the defensive end. You gave Cade a break, but we need you to dominate the defensive end and then allow that to leave you or find yourself open from the wing, from the corner, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Payne and Shamet, I'm looking for a stronger game from you. From the turnover perspective, you guys came in the game and kind of fumbled the basketball. So I'm looking for a stronger game from those two turnover perspective. But at the end of the day, let's go Game 3 Thursday. Game 3 Thursday. Be there or be square. Knicks Some Noise. It's your man, Why Me. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.